Ever feel like your mind is just on overdrive? Like fireworks going off? So many ideas, but where to even start?
Ah, the classic idea flood.
Right. Well, today we're diving into this fascinating lecture called Managing 1,000 Ideas in Your Mind.
Oh, I've heard of this one.
Yeah, and just the title itself, makes you feel a little
For
overwhelmed,
sure, for sure.
but it's surprisingly practical.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think it's something so many of us can relate to.
absolutely.
It starts with this great concept, comparing ideas to seeds,
Oh, I like that.
right? Some grow, some don't, and it's okay.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Not every idea needs to become like the next big thing.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
about recognizing that having lots of ideas, that's a strength.
It is. It's like a superpower.
So many people see it as a problem,
Right. They get overwhelmed.
but it's actually this incredible wellspring of potential.
It really is.
So how do we harness that potential?
Well, the lecture talks about this idea of a brain dump.
Oh, yeah, getting everything out of your head.
Yes. Literally externalizing those thoughts.
I used to think that was kind of a gimmick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but once I actually tried it, it was
Yeah.
like this huge weight lifted,
I can imagine.
just getting it all out on paper.
It's freeing, isn't it?
It is. So you have this big brain dump, then what?
Well, then it's about finding the patterns.
Okay.
Grouping those ideas that seem to belong together.
Like sorting them into categories.
Exactly. It helps make the whole thing less daunting.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just this big jumbled mess.
Right. It's about creating order out of that initial chaos.
So it's like you're making a map of your own creative universe.
I like that. A creative map.
Yeah, once you have that map, then you can start to prioritize, right?
Exactly. And that's where the lecture brings in the Eisenhower matrix.
Ah, yes. The classic time management tool.
It's a classic for a reason.
So for those who aren't familiar, can you give us a quick rundown of how that works?
Sure. So basically, you divide your ideas or tasks into 4 quadrants based on urgency and importance.
So you've got things that are both urgent and important.
Right. Those are the things that need your immediate attention.
And then you've got things that are important, but maybe not as urgent.
Exactly.
Like, they can wait a bit.
Yeah, but they still need to be addressed.
Right. They're still on your radar.
And then you have those pesky things that are urgent but not actually important.
Oh, those are the worst.
They can really derail you.
Because they feel so pressing.
Exactly. But they're often distractions.
Yeah, they pull you away from what really matters.
And then, of course, there's the stuff that's neither urgent nor important.
Okay, so what do we do with that?
Well, ideally, you try to eliminate or delegate as much of that as possible.
So it's not taking up valuable mental space.
That's the goal, to free up your energy for those truly important things.
I think that's where this whole concept of prioritization becomes so crucial, right?
Absolutely. It's about making conscious choices about where to focus your attention.
Because we only have so much time and energy.
That's right. And the Eisenhower matrix helps you channel those resources effectively.
It's like you're deciding which fires to put out first, metaphorically speaking.
Exactly. It brings clarity to the chaos.
So we've got our urgent fires under control, but what about those ideas that are important but maybe not as urgent? Those someday projects.
Ah, those are the seeds with great potential.
Right, but they need the right conditions to grow.
Exactly.
And sometimes those conditions are time and space, which can be hard to come by.
It's true, but that's where intentional planning comes in.
So how do we make sure those important but not urgent ideas don't just get lost in the shuffle?
That's a great question, and we'll dive into some strategies for that in just a moment.
Okay, sounds good.
But first, let's take a quick break.
All right, we'll be right back after this. All right, so we're back, and we were talking about those important but not urgent ideas.
Right, those are the ones that often get neglected.
They do, because it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day.
It is, and then those important ideas just kind of sit there on the back burner.
And they might be the things we're really passionate about.
Exactly. The things that could really make a difference.
So how do we give them the attention they deserve?
Well, the lecture suggests thinking about it like building a Lego tower.
Oh, I remember this analogy.
Yeah, if you keep starting new towers, you'll never finish any of them.
Right, you end up with a bunch of half-built towers.
But if you focus on one at a time,
You actually get to see it come together.
exactly, you make real progress.
So it's about choosing one key idea and really giving it your all.
Exactly, it's about that sustained focus.
But what about when new ideas pop up while you're working on something else?
That's inevitable. Our brains are always coming up with new things.
And it's so tempting to just drop everything and chase after that shiny new idea.
It is, but that's where the idea of an idea parking lot comes in.
Oh, yeah, I like this one.
It's basically a designated place to capture those new
Well,
ideas.
you don't lose them.
Right, but you also don't let them derail your current focus.
It's like acknowledging those sparks of inspiration without letting them take over.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance.
Okay, so we've got our brain dump, we're categorizing our ideas, we're prioritizing, we've got our idea parking lot.
We're starting to get organized.
But there's one more crucial element that the lecture talks about, and that's self-compassion.
Oh, that's so important.
Because this whole process can be
It
overwhelming,
can, and it's easy to get discouraged if you don't see results immediately.
or if you feel like you're not doing it right.
Right, but there's no one right way to do this.
It's about finding what works for you.
And being kind to yourself along the way.
Because it's a process, it's not something that happens overnight.
It's a journey.
And sometimes the most creative gardens are the ones that embrace a little bit of chaos.
That's a great point. It doesn't have to be perfect.
It's about finding that balance between structure and spontaneity.
Exactly. And letting your ideas evolve organically.
So to bring it all back to the lecture, managing 1,000 ideas in your mind,
It's not about shutting down your creativity
it's about harnessing it.
and making conscious choices about where to focus your energy.
So ultimately, the goal isn't just to have a lot of ideas.
It's to do something meaningful with them.
And that's where the lecture ends with this really thought-provoking question.
What is it?
What's one idea on your mind right now that you can focus on today?
Oh, I love that.
It's about taking action.
Turning those ideas into reality.
And that's what transforms a seed into something that can actually grow.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
So as we wrap this deep dive, I think the key takeaway is this. Don't be afraid of your ideas.
Embrace them, nurture them, and see what amazing things you can create.
This whole idea of ideas as seeds, it's really stuck with me.
Yeah, it's a powerful analogy.
It makes you think, if our ideas are like seeds, what kind of garden are we trying to create?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Right. Like, are we going for this wild, overgrown look with tons of different plants?
Or are we carefully cultivating just a few, really special ones?
It's like this lecture has given us a whole new way to think about our creative goals.
It's not just about managing ideas, it's about being intentional with them.
Yeah, choosing what we want to nurture, what we want to let grow wild.
And what we might need to, prune back for a while.
It's about creating the kind of creative legacy we want to leave behind.
That's powerful.
And it reminds me of that final question from the lecture.
The one about what idea you can focus on today.
Yes. It's a call to action, to take all these insights and actually do something with them.
Because that's how we turn those seeds into something real.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into managing 1,000 ideas in your mind, I think the biggest takeaway is this.
Don't be overwhelmed by all those ideas.
Embrace them, find what works for you, and create something amazing.
One idea at a time.
And remember, the most beautiful gardens often have a little bit of both.
A little wildness, a little intention.
So find that balance and let your ideas bloom.